All right, welcome everyone to today's webinar. This is Teach Britannica webinar number 4 of our Teach Britannica webinar series, focused on cross-curricular learning made easy with Teach Britannica. So my name is Chris Heinz. I am the Director of Customer Experience. I have my background as a social studies teacher in Chicago Public Schools. And I've moved to Britannica about 3 years ago to really help schools and districts that use Britannica products have the training and support needed to get the most out of those. With me, as always, is my wonderful colleague, Christy Bengali.
Hi everyone, I'm Christy Bengali. I am the Curriculum Learning Specialist here at Britannica. Similar to Chris, my background is also in middle school, but world languages in the New York area. And I've been with Britannica now, I think it's just coming up on 1 year this month.
Awesome. And what a great year it's been. I don't know if you agree with that, but I think it's been a great year.
The best year.
And with us also today is Julie Schuster. She is our product owner here. Julie, I'm sorry, we kind of we did you wrong here today. We didn't set it up for you to share your camera, and B, we didn't have your headshot on the slide deck as well. But I will give you a moment to introduce yourself as well.
No problem at all, Chris. Hi, everyone. I'm Julie. I'm the product manager for Teach Britannica, and I also manage several other products with Britannica. I've been here about 20 years, so I have over 20 years in the education technology industry, and I'm here mostly to help answer any questions. Nice to meet
Awesome. Well, thank you. All right. So today we are going to go through some kind of cross-curricular resources. So we started our webinar series going through just a general overview of Teach Britannica. Our second webinar focused on Britannica School in particular and lesson minis. Our third webinar focused on Britannica Library and helping to revitalize those library programs. And then today we're going to focus on kind of cross-curricular resources. So a little bit heavier focus on graphic organizers and instructional strategies, really pairing those with some of our other Britannica products as well. But we always like to start off with a brief intro to who Britannica is. Not the dusty old encyclopedia book company, but what our purpose is as an education and an ed tech leader. I'll do a quick tour of Teach Britannica, and then we do have some action items. We'll ask you to communicate in the chat throughout the session today to really provide your input, your feedback, and then any questions you have, please put them in the chat as well. We will be monitoring the chat throughout the session to answer those live and provide you with any information that you need. So Britannica Education, as I mentioned, we are the education wing of the Encyclopedia Britannica Company, founded or first published in 1768. So we've been around for over 250 years. But our education services really strive to ignite curiosity in students and create meaningful learning experiences for the students in your care. So we do this through our diverse collection of digital solutions. You'll see me reference a number of them today, some of our reference materials, some of our visual materials, our curriculum materials. We have a lot of different solutions to really help educators get the most out of that content for their students. Our tailored customer support, we like to really meet our customers where you are and try to provide as much support as we can. And in addition to that, we provide our professional learning opportunities, which is kind of the other half of my job, which is helping to lead professional learning sessions that are both tied to product, but are also product adjacent, and really focus on key themes in education these days as well. So again, we really like to level set with this and let you know this is our mission, this is our purpose, and really excited to share these resources with you today. So into that, we'll throw Teach Britannica, which, as most of you may know, is our newest resource. So I'm going to hand it over to Christy. She'll talk a little bit about the development of Teach Britannica.
Sure. Thanks, Chris, and welcome again, everyone. I wanted to talk to you just for a quick moment on our core principles and foundations of Teach Britannica, which, as Chris mentioned, is our new dedicated resource hub designed to integrate our Britannica solutions. our many Britannica solutions into classrooms and daily instruction. We feel that we have really designed our resources with practical, time-saving supplements to them with you, the teacher, in mind. So I want to just walk you through quickly what these 5 essential design principles are. First, we know every classroom is different, so all of our resources come in both digital and print formats. Whether you're teaching in person, online, or both, we have you covered. Second, we put students at the center of everything, all aspects of our planning. Everything we create is about getting students actively involved and excited about their own learning. Third, everything we do is grounded in what works, what we know works. We use proven teaching methods that actually move the needle on student learning. We're big believers in supporting teacher growth, which is our 4th core principle here. And that's why we are dedicated to providing ongoing professional learning guidance to help you get the most out of these tools, as well as our other Britannica solutions. And finally, and this is really important to us, is inclusion. Inclusion is built into everything we create. It's the backbone of our design and our principles. Our resources are crafted to reach each student in your classroom. You'll notice this today as we show you some resources live on our site. Look for our intentional inclusive aspects with our differentiation and variation strategies, which will really point out to you how to meet the different learning styles, different learning needs of all students in your classes.
Awesome. Thank you, Christy. And yeah, hopefully today, as we go through the resources and you get a chance to explore, you do really find something that's going to work for you. And something that, every student's unique, every group of students is unique. So some of the things we shared, you may say, nah, that's not for me, but we've provided a pretty vast hub of resources. So I feel like, there's something for everybody in Teach Britannica. So thank you. All right. So we want to hear from you. And so I did open up the chat. I realized as Christy was speaking that I still had it closed off. So I made sure that it is now open. Everybody can communicate in the chat. And so I'd like to hear from you in the chat, and I'll pause and I'll stop talking for about a minute or two. And just ask you, what content areas do you teach? And then what are some of your go-to strategies in your daily routine? Are there certain activities? Are there certain routines that you have that you rely on pretty heavily in the classroom? And just kind of, what's worked for you, what hasn't worked for you. Just kind of keep that a little open-ended there. But I will pause myself, and I'll try not to fill the dead space on the air with my voice, and let you kind of communicate in the chat what content areas and then what are your go-to strategies. Thank you, Christy. Christy, middle school Spanish teacher, used many discussion and collaboration strategies to really hit the 4 communication goals for your students. Very nice.
Sometimes it helps if you kick off as the first person in the chat.
Yes. Yes, and I was social studies. I used a lot of KWL, See, Think, Wonder, right? Those kinds of, display an image and get students to kind of just low stakes writing, and have them kind of, jot down and practice note taking and stuff like that. All right, Crystal, as a science teacher, have students do a project at the end of each unit that takes what you've learned and give it more meaning. I like that. Really connecting to those student interests and, again, student-centered learning as well. All right, we got some science, inquiry, and project-based learning.
I love Crystal's response too, because that really touches on that reflection and the metacognition, which we really try and activate for our students at the end of each lesson. It really helps them sort of internalize and make self-connections to what they were learning that day.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you everyone for sharing. We're going to go ahead and start to kind of go into the Teach Britannica resource a little bit. And now, as I started talking, we're seeing more coming through the chat. So we've got some library media, relate the topic of study to something happening in the world today. Yep, connecting to what students are seeing out there. Peggy says teaching teachers technology and what tools we have available, newsletters, putting things online and recordings for teachers so they can learn on their own time. Absolutely. Learn and earn. Yes, I do like that. All right. So thank you. Into this, and again, hopefully what we share today really gives you kind of a good overview of what you can pull from Teach Britannica. So we are going to focus on, and we pulled out the lesson minis, but the lesson minis are one of our activities here. But we're going to focus on two areas here: our instructional strategies and then our graphic organizers. Instructional strategies are really flexibly implemented activities. You can easily sort by grade level and by type, so you can focus on different skills and content areas, but are really designed to be flexibly implemented with whatever you're addressing in your curriculum, whatever content you're using. We provide a pacing guide, we have procedures, we have some differentiation and variation as well, but really trying to make these strategies that can be easily implemented in the classroom. Christy, anything I missed on the instructional strategies?
No, I think you gave a really nice overview. These strategies work really well, as Chris mentioned, across all grade levels and subject areas, whether you're teaching third graders about plant cycles or middle school students about algebra or high school seniors analyzing Shakespeare. And when we touch into the platform, you'll see this a little bit more, but I want to highlight something that Chris mentioned about those 6 categories. We've organized those for you to really help students build vocab, teach them to organize their thoughts, develop active reading skills, build questioning and inquiry abilities, foster discussion and collaboration, which are some of my favorites, and then learning to summarize and connect. And one thing I do just want to spend a moment talking about, I love instructional strategies, and what makes these strategies so practical is their consistent framework, as Chris mentioned, in this organized procedural fashion. Each one tells you exactly what you need, the grade level, how long it will take. We also include step-by-step instructions, but as a former teacher, I know, and Chris knows, your time is precious. So we've really made it super easy for you to filter and find what you need for your specific grade and teaching goals. But what really gets to the heart of these strategies is that they are really grounded in evidence-based strategies and pedagogy. Behind them is the notion of consistency and routine, which are 2 beautiful words to any teacher. We know as teachers that routine is so important to student learning. The more students use these routines, the more they become part of their natural thinking. And the key is to take it step by step. Let students really master some of these strategies before introducing another. I know as an early teacher, I used to get so excited with so many new strategies, and we have such great ones on this Teach Britannica platform for you. But one of the beautiful things about instructional strategies is that as students get comfortable with these thinking routines and these strategies, they start to use these skills across all subjects. They're transferable, and they start to use them naturally without thinking about it. And so it really helps their confidence, their independent thinking as learners, and it really helps them equip themselves with some new strategies to take with them as a learner. So I had to do a little plug there, Chris, because I one of my passions is really with these instructional strategies in Teach Britannica.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. And I think, I mean, you mentioned routine, and the we do talk a lot about time saving and the work that a teacher has to put into planning out activities like this. And so what I really like about it is the procedures there, the differentiation is there, right? It's really something that can be implemented. And like you said, the more that you implement, if you find a strategy that works for you, and that becomes a bell ringer or an exit slip or something that allows you to do what you need to do in the classroom, but save that time doing it is absolutely just crucial. I remember when I was teaching, that was like the name of the game was having something that you could do for the first 5 minutes of every class that allowed me to take the time to put my objectives on the board. It allowed me to take roll. It allowed me to do everything. So having that routine can be, really crucial in the classroom, even if it's just a short little 5-10 minute activity. Second piece that we'll talk about today are our graphic organizers. I love our graphic organizers. I think they're really fun. There's 72 of them that are organized by grade level. So you can go in and you can filter to see content that's going to be appropriate for your students. It's also tied to specific Britannica resources as well. But the thing I really like about these is that they are digital, they're printable. So not only are they fillable PDF forms, but they're also printable for use in the classroom. We've reorganized the way that we've displayed these, so you can actually see a little preview before you download it. Really popular piece, but a nice tool to have in your toolkit as well. Christy, anything I missed there?
Yeah, that was a great description, Chris. You're going to see in a moment as Chris jumps into our live platform, we have over 70 of them right now available across kindergarten through university level. Some of them are going to be your favorites that I'm sure you might have seen in previous workshops with Chris. Others we've updated and added some new ones that we've created along with this, the process of creating Teach Britannica, but they're really just flexible resources. We organize them in a way for you to, again, save some time where you can see a nice thumbnail preview of a strategy or graphic organizer you want to grab, quickly kind of saving you some of that search time and hopefully giving you a few planning minutes back, which is always welcome.
Awesome. Well, yeah, nice segue into our let's take a look. And so I just want to show you really quickly in here, for those of you who may not have seen Teach Britannica yet, where you can find all of this content that we're talking about. So within the Teach Britannica resource, and again, this is just at teachbritannica.com. It is open access. There is no firewall. There is no paywall. You can find content that is aligned to our specific resources as well. So if you're a Britannica School subscriber, you can go by different levels here. If you have ImageQuest, or if you have Britannica Launch Packs or ImageQuest Junior, you can see content that's aligned at those areas as well. What I'm going to do is go up here to the top, and this is where you can find all of the instructional strategies and graphic organizers. So if I go ahead to this hub here, again, you can see, you can choose the type, so the skill that you're really asking students to perform here. So let's say we want to work on vocabulary acquisition, and I am at the upper elementary level. Can go ahead and filter to find content that is appropriate for the skill that I'm looking to address, as well as appropriate for the age level of the students that I work with. And the nice thing here, and I'm just going to pick one at random. Let's go with the visual learner. Let's go picture glossary. So this skill within the instructional strategies here, again, printable. So we know device fatigue is real, allowing for that content to be used outside of the device. But then we provide a quick description. We give you an overview of when to implement this, what materials you'll need. If you do have a graphic organizer aligned to this, we can go ahead and click on that. It will download that to your device. And you are able to see once the PDF loads, here's the graphic organizer, again, printable and a fillable form as well. Got your procedures here, any differentiation and variations for your student groups. But again, really flexible, designed to be kind of quickly implemented, evidence-based strategies that you can use with your students. The other set of resources here is the graphic organizers. And again, like I said, very popular. As this loads, you'll see we have the little thumbnails here for each one, so you can get an overview of what this content shows you. And again, you can filter by grade level. So if I'm working with middle school students, what's really going to apply to kids in those middle grades? Again, my internet runs a little bit slow here, but here's all the content that's then aligned to those middle school students. I really like, and I'll kind of maybe bury the lead on this one. I like this jigsaw puzzle. I may have an example of it later on in the session as well, to just kind of go through. But all of these, again, like I said, very popular pieces here. If you want to sign up for Britannica's newsletter, we'll have that little pop up there as well. And you can get, kept up to date on all of our happenings and new things at Britannica as well. But again, really popular piece here. And again, all of these are fillable PDF forms. So if I go ahead and click on this, you'll see as this loads, downloadable, printable, and then these fields will fill in as well and allow me to type directly in the PDF document on my device. So it gives you a really nice, flexible way to implement this content and pair it with your Britannica resources or with other content that you have in your curriculum as well. All right. So let's go back and talk about how all of this works. And I'm going to walk through a couple things. And I do want us to feel free to communicate in the chat as we go through. I have a couple short little visual literacy lessons that I like to implement here, and really focus on how this can be utilized across the curriculum as well. But how does this all work? So I'm actually going to show you a lesson mini here. One of the exciting developments, so as I mentioned earlier, this resource is just about a month old. And we're constantly adding new content to it based on user feedback. So folks told us, hey, we have Britannica ImageQuest. It would be really nice if we had some lesson minis that were built for Britannica ImageQuest as well. So Christy and her team, I don't know how they did it so quickly, but they built out lesson minis that are going to go into ImageQuest. So this you can expect to see fresh content added to Teach Britannica on a pretty consistent basis here. But the reason I highlighted this is because, like I said, I like to use images. I like to, really engaging content and get students to really exercise their visual literacy muscles as well. So this one's really fun. This is called Zoom In, Zoom Out. And how this works is that you present an image to students, and typically you want to pick one that is pretty robust, has a lot of details, very detail oriented. This works really well with political cartoons. It works really well with paintings, where there's a lot of stuff in the background and a lot of subtext as well. But we then provide some materials. We give you an implementation, differentiation and variations, and then some collaborative teaching steps as well. So what I want to do is just kind of go through how I might implement this in the classroom, and feel free to kind of chime in on the chat. And I pulled this from one of our other sessions that we've done in the past about teaching Latinx history through visual literacy. So let me go ahead, or media literacy. Let me go ahead and just show you a couple zoomed in pieces. And I want you to just kind of stream of consciousness in the chat. Let me know, what do you see here? What do you think about what you're seeing on these quick zoom in, zoom out activities? All right, so here's zoom in number one. This is not the full painting. This is just a small snippet of it. But I want you to tell me, what do you see? What does this evoke in you as someone who is looking at this particular image? Someone in charge, someone who's powerful. Yes. Who is in control? Absolutely.
You intrigued my son who is sitting here, and he said he pictures maybe a revolution or a war or a battle.
Yep. Definitely got a soldier here. Yep, we've got war. All right, and I'll tell you what this image is later when we get to the whole thing, but let's go to zoom in number two, and there's two different pieces that I want to show you. So what do we see here? You can always ask some guiding questions too. So I would maybe say to students, first one we said someone's in charge, someone's powerful. How do we feel about that in these parts of the image? Yeah, we see some struggle. Maybe we see victory. Yeah, we have people fighting together. I always notice it looks like they're walking across like snowy ground, but then you see they're not really equipped for that, right? You see the shoes, you see the lighter coats, you see, wrapped up in blankets, you see one person collapsed over here. So let me show you the whole image here. And this is a painting of Santa Anna, so General Antonio Lopez de Santa Anna, who was the leader of Mexican forces during the Mexican-American War. Um, I might take it a step further and say, whose perspective do you think this is from? Right? Because Santa Anna looks great, right? He looks powerful. He looks like he's in control, but his army looks like it's struggling, right? But he doesn't seem to be struggling much, right? So kind of, this was painted by an American painter. So yes, Santa Anna looks powerful and in control, but I think a lot of the criticism from the American side was he was doing great while his troops were really struggling. And so really getting students to kind of put those pieces together, right, and use those visual literacy skills. But I like using paintings for that because definitely there's a lot of subtext that's built into that as well.
What I would
All
add
right.
there too, Chris, is what I love doing this lesson with middle schoolers too, is you can see in the chat too, we were a little hesitant at first to kind of put an answer. Is it right? Is it wrong? And I
Mm-hmm.
think our students often feel that way. And what I love about this activity is it sort of builds that low stakes environment where there really is no right or wrong answer.
Mm-hmm.
And as these become part of that routine again, students are more likely to speak up and take risks and start to notice a little, images or parts of the picture that they might not have sort of keyed into the first time. So
Yeah.
this is something that Chris mentioned, you can use across virtually all disciplines, all grade levels that all students can engage in.
Awesome. Yeah, and that's a great point. The no wrong answers, right? What your interpretation is, and I mean, even in art, right? Anyone's interpretation, there's no right or wrong interpretation of a piece of art. Like the artist may have a certain slant or they may have a certain, point they're trying to make, but people are going to interpret that differently. And that's definitely a great way to frame that as well. All right, graphic organizers. Again, one of my favorite pieces here. Um, so I like the graphic organizers again to build visual literacy. You can use either a Venn diagram or a compare sources graphic organizer. And since it's election season, I just wanted to highlight a couple different, again, political cartoons around suffrage here. And so we won't necessarily go through this together, but I do like kind of having um, two different things that really describe the same topic, right? Two different perspectives. And so on the left, we have one that is, yes, it's about women's suffrage, but it's in support of it, right? It's saying, why shouldn't women have the right to vote? And you've got, your Uncle Sam over there. And then on the right, you have oh, why would you want to do this? Like women are out, trying to fight for votes, but they're leaving this poor husband to take care of a sick child. Um, having had sick children at home, it is not fun. I agree, but also it's two people's job, like, let's be honest. But anyways, but giving kind of those different perspectives of topics, and really allowing students to kind of draw those connections as well and see where your sources agree, where your sources disagree, and all of that. Last thing, I do like the ability to curate resources. Britannica Launch Packs does a great job with this as well. Really curates a bunch of articles, images, videos, other content together. And as I mentioned, my jigsaw puzzle graphic organizer, very near and dear to my heart. If you provide students with a primary source, a secondary source, a image, and a video, and for each one of those pieces, you ask students, how does this help you to understand your topic? How does this help you to kind of build your argument? So again, graphic organizers can be a really powerful way to do this as well. Christy, anything that you wanted to add, anything to share about the graphic organizer piece?
No, I think that's great. Just remember to put your own teacher spin on it. You know, coming off of the zoom in, zoom out activity, I'm looking at this jigsaw puzzle now as a different, through a different lens, where I could even put some images from the Santa Ana that I saw on there and have students look at and dissect different parts in groups as well. So lots of things you can do. Feel free to explore those differentiation and variation strategies. But I love these examples, Chris.
Awesome. Well, thank you. And I think, yeah, it's fun to put this together, and kind of puts me back in my teacher mode of, all the different ways that I could implement this. So hopefully my teacher brain helps your teacher brain as well, to kind of find some of these strands and ideas, and kind of ways to piece this together. But again, put your own slant on it. Whatever's going to work for you, right? What works for me might not work for someone else as well. All right. So I do want to ask you in the chat, and I like this activity. This is called Rose, Thorn, Bud. And so again, I'm gonna pause myself for a minute here. But a rose is something that you're really excited about with Teach Britannica. A thorn is something that you see as potentially something of concern, or something that you're not maybe sure of. And a bud is something that you're excited to learn more about. So if you want to communicate in the chat what's something that's a rose, something that's a thorn, a potential trouble spot, or something that's a bud, something you're excited to learn more about, I'll go ahead and pause myself so that you can provide some feedback in the chat as well, if you would like. All right. So we do have some action items for you here. So our 3 next steps, we would just ask, bookmark Teach Britannica, so that you have easy access to the resource. We do have one more webinar. It kind of shed a tear that it's the end of our webinar series is coming up here, but we have one more webinar that is focused on Britannica academic toolkits. It is really built at kind of the higher ed level, but it has a lot of really great research resources that can be flexibly applied in K-12 as well. So if you're going to join us next week on November 12th, we just ask, try to incorporate one new resource type, or find one thing that works for you, or can work for you. And then, as you have successful implementations, share that with your colleagues. Let them know kind of how you've utilized Teach Britannica, and, really found a way to implement those in your classroom as well. So this is our upcoming session next week. Same time, same place, same hosts. November 12th at 10 a.m. Central. Boost student research with Teach Britannica toolkits. So again, we hope to see you all there. Again, really good strategies for research as well. So that kind of brings us to the end of our session. Peggy, you'll be back. Thank you. We appreciate it. We love your joining us and frequent attendance, and we're more than happy to share you. Yeah, Peggy, you'll get the 5 out of 5. We'll send you some additional resource packs as well, for joining us each time. So if you have any questions, Christy and I are happy to stick around as well, and answer those. But again, really appreciate you joining, taking some time out of your day. Again, if you haven't, please go vote. It's very important for all of our voices to be heard here, and really excited that it's a good day. I like election day. It's always an interesting ride for sure. But thank you, everyone. Appreciate all your comments, your feedback, and yeah, if you have any questions, please let us know. But I hope you all have a great rest of your day.